All right, let's get right into it. It is 2026. The Formula One regulation reset button has finally been pressed.
Finally.
We are talking about the biggest shakeup in a decade, active aero, no MGUH, sustainable fuels, the whole 9 yards.
And the theoretical part is over. Simulators are off.
Exactly. The cars have actually hit the track at the Barcelona shakedown.
And, usually testing is a bit of a poker game. Everyone's bluffing.
Right.
But looking at this report we have from the Grid Talk crew covering day 4, it seems like the bluffs are already falling apart for some very big players.
That is what we are here to figure out. We're looking at three very distinct narratives that came out of Spain.
Yeah.
First, you have the reigning champions, Red Bull, in what you could argue is a full-blown crisis with their new in-house engine.
Then you have Mercedes, who seem to have bored everyone to death, but in the best possible way.
And then the mystery guest, Aston Martin, the team everyone was waiting for, pulling a stunt that might have just backfired spectacularly.
It's a fascinating mix. And you have to remember, for the last 2 years, all we've heard is PR spin. Our simulations look great. The numbers are promising.
Of course.
Barcelona was the moment. Reality punched some of those simulations right in the face.
Let's start with that bruised jaw then. Red Bull.
Yeah.
For years, they've been the gold standard, the team to beat. But this year, the big variable changed. They aren't a Honda customer anymore. This is Red Bull Powertrains.
They're making their own engines in Milton Keynes. It's the boldest move in modern F1 history, really.
To go from a chassis specialist to a full works manufacturer, it's a huge undertaking.
It's enormous. And this Grid Talk report from day 4 suggests the transition is, well, incredibly painful. The headline isn't speed, it's heat.
Okay, let's dig into that.
Right.
The report mentions leaked info about severe overheating. Now, usually I'd say it's testing, everyone has cooling issues.
So that's normal.
But this sounds different. They were apparently running really conservative engine maps, dialing everything way back, and still struggling. Why is this 2026 power unit so much harder to cool?
Well, think about the architecture. The regulations came rid of the MGUH, that's the motor generator unit on the turbo.
Yeah.
That component was complex, sure, but it also managed energy flow and heat in a very, very specific way. Now, you've got this massive reliance on kinetic recovery and the battery to make up nearly 50% of the power.
So the electrical deployment is just huge.
Exactly. And that generates a totally different kind of thermal load, a different kind of heat.
And Red Bull has always been famous for those shrink-wrapped car designs, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Newey, even though he's gone now, he left that legacy of packaging everything impossibly tight for the aero.
Precisely. And that's the conflict. You have a chassis philosophy that demands tight packaging for aerodynamic efficiency, clashing with a brand new engine department that probably needs a lot more breathing room for cooling. If you have to open up the bodywork just to keep the engine from melting, you're destroying your aero efficiency. It's a vicious cycle.
So they're driving around with the engine turned down, effectively blind to their true performance.
Yeah.
But then it gets worse.
It gets much worse.
It wasn't just the engine. They had the crash.
The Isack Hadjar incident.
Late on day 2 or day 3, Hadjar puts it in the wall. The report says big crash, significant damage. Now, in the old days, you'd sweep up the carbon fiber, grab a spare wing from the truck, and get back out there. But the report says they were sidelined for most of day 4, waiting for parts from Milton Keynes.
To be flown in, that feels so un-Red Bull.
It really does.
It feels like a team that stretched itself too thin, and this is where the cost cap really, really bites you.
You can't just have 50 spare front wings anymore.
No, you can't. Inventory is money. But more than that, the logistical chain of being your own manufacturer is being tested right now, in real time.
Okay, but I have to play devil's advocate for a second here. Is this actually a crisis, or is it just, the growing pains of a new era? Are we reading too much into a parts delay?
If this were 2024, I'd probably agree with you. But in 2026, with active aero, the correlation between the track and the wind tunnel is the hardest it has ever been.
How so?
Well, these cars have wings that are physically moving on the straights and in the corners. The software managing that is incredibly complex. So if you're sitting in the garage because you don't have spare parts,
You're not validating that software.
you're not. You are losing data that you cannot get back in a simulator.
That's the key, isn't it? The virtual world just isn't as good at predicting active aero turbulence as it was with static wings. So Red Bull is bleeding time. Meanwhile, you look down the pit lane, and it's a whole different vibe.
Mercedes.
The contrast is just jarring.
The report calls them rock solid. George Russell and the rookie, Kimi Antonelli, just logging massive mileage. No drama, no smoke, just laps.
And in a regulation reset, boring is the most dangerous thing you can be to your rivals.
So true.
Mercedes seems to have taken a completely different philosophical approach. While Red Bull went super aggressive with their in-house power unit,
Mercedes, who have been building engines for decades,
they seem to have prioritized robust reliability over, let's say, peak innovation, at least to start.
it reminds me of their start in 2014. They just worked.
Exactly.
But let's talk about Kimi Antonelli for a second. The hype around this kid is, well, it's insane. How much does having a rock-solid car actually matter for a rookie?
Oh, it's everything. If you're Antonelli, you're trying to learn the tires, the energy deployment, the physical demands of these new cars.
Right, a huge learning curve.
And if the car is unpredictable, if the rear end snaps because of an overheating issue or an aero stall, you lose confidence. You stop pushing. But if the car is a stable platform, like the Mercedes appears to be,
He can just focus on his driving.
yes, he's not fighting the machinery.
So Mercedes is just winning the data war. They have gigabytes of clean laps to analyze. That's it exactly. They're likely already moving on to set up optimization ride heights, suspension, tire pressures. Red Bull is still trying to figure out if their car will even finish a race.
Mercedes is 2 steps ahead before the first race has even started.
Effectively, yes.
Which brings us to the third player in this drama, the mystery box.
Aston Martin, the AMR 26.
This was the car everyone wanted to see. Adrian Newey's first design for them. The man who built the Red Bull dynasty is now in green, and they decided to play it cool.
Very cool.
No running for the first 3 days. They flew the car in late on day 4.
The fashionably late strategy, it's a classic power move, or at least that's what they wanted it to look like. The message they want to send is, we don't need to drive around aimlessly. We're perfecting this design until the last second.
It's high-stakes poker. You're betting that your wind tunnel data is so good you don't need the track time, so the car arrives. And visually, it did not disappoint.
No, it looked the part.
The report describes it as blacked-out, naked carbon, stealth bomber vibes.
Yeah.
But let's talk shape. It mentions Newey-esque side pods. For the listeners trying to visualize this, what are we looking at?
Okay, so when we say Newey-esque in this new era, we're talking about extreme undercuts. Imagine the side of the car has been carved out with a massive scoop.
Okay.
It's all about channeling air aggressively along the floor, trying to feed a massive amount of clean air to the beam wing at the back. It's a very complex concept that relies on managing the airflow perfectly.
It looks fast standing still.
Yeah.
So Lance Stroll jumps in, fires it up. He goes out for what the report calls exploratory laps, and then
Silence.
a red flag. The car just stops near the pit entry.
Yep.
I mean, talk about an anticlimax.
Yeah.
You make everyone wait 4 days, you roll out this spaceship, and it dies on the outlap.
It's catastrophic for the PR, but mechanically it's fascinating. And here's the irony that you just can't make up.
Oh, I know where you're going with this. The engine.
It's the engine. Aston Martin is now the works team for Honda.
The same Honda that powered Red Bull to all those championships.
Yes. So Red Bull left Honda to build their own engine and is struggling. Aston Martin picked up Honda and is also struggling.
It's like a bad breakup where everyone loses. The report cites reliability gremlins, specifically with the power unit. So does this mean Honda is struggling with the 2026 regs too?
It certainly appears so, and this casts a huge shadow over that fashionably late strategy.
Right. Was it really a choice?
Exactly. Was it a strategic choice to maximize wind tunnel time, or was the car just not ready? When you break down after a handful of laps, it suggests you were scrambling, not holding back for perfection.
It feels like a cameo. Like they just wanted to prove the car exists. Look, we built it. It has wheels. See you in Bahrain.
And that's a scary place to be, because unlike Mercedes, who know their car works, and unlike Red Bull, who at least have 3 days of, broken data,
Aston Martin has nothing.
nothing. They have a beautiful sculpture that might be a glass cannon.
The glass cannon. High performance, zero durability.
Precisely. With Newey designs, they are often on a razor's edge. If it works, it dominates. If the cooling is slightly off, or a vibration is too high, it shatters. And right now, we don't know if that Honda engine can support Newey's aggressive packaging.
So we have these 3 storylines, but we need to zoom out for a second. We look at the timing screens, and the report says the cars are generally way off last year's pace.
Which is expected.
Right. New regs, heavier cars, different engines. But how much should we really read into the lap times we saw at Barcelona?
Very little. In fact, ignoring the lap times is probably the smartest thing you can do. We are in what I'd call the secretive era of testing.
More so than usual.
Oh, much more. Because of the active aero, teams can mask their true performance in ways they couldn't before. They can run the wings in a high drag mode on the straights on purpose just to hide their top speed.
And run heavy fuel loads to hide cornering speed.
Of course, no one wants to show their hand. If you reveal a trick now, your rivals have a month to copy it before the first real race.
That's a great point. So if Mercedes is topping the charts, it might just mean they ran with lighter fuel or they were testing a low drag mode. Doesn't mean they're actually the fastest car.
Correct. But, and this is the big but, we go back to mileage. You can fake lap times. You cannot fake mileage.
That's the truth teller.
The fact that Mercedes did race distances while Red Bull and Aston sat in the garage is the only metric that matters right now.
Reliability is the gatekeeper to performance. You can't make the car faster if it's on a tow truck.
And this brings us to the psychological side. Think about the debriefs happening right now. At Mercedes, the engineers are calm. They're looking at grass, tweaking algorithms.
At Red Bull and Aston.
There is tension. People are tired. They're rushing parts. They were trying to solve fundamental problems. That stress leads to mistakes.
It's the spiral of chaos. One problem leads to a rushed fix, which creates another problem.
And Red Bull, for the first time in a long, long time, looks vulnerable to that spiral. They've lost the safety net of having a proven engine partner. They are walking the tightrope without a net.
Looking ahead, the report points to Bahrain proper. That's the official preseason test, right before the first race. Barcelona was just a shakedown. Bahrain is the dress rehearsal.
Bahrain will be the truth teller. It's hot, the track surface is abrasive, and there's absolutely nowhere to hide.
If Red Bull is still overheating in the desert heat,
then the alarm bells stop ringing and start screaming.
And if Aston Martin can't string together 20 laps,
then the Adrian Newey dream start turns into a nightmare. And you have to ask yourself, is it better to have the genius designer if the foundation, the engine, the operations isn't ready to support him?
That leads me to a thought I've been mulling over. We're seeing Red Bull struggle with this transition to being a manufacturer, a garagista, in the modern sense, right? Making everything in-house. Meanwhile, you have customer teams or established giants like Mercedes who sort of stayed in their lane.
It's the fundamental question of the cost cap era, isn't it?
Exactly. We used to think to win, you have to be a works team. You must control everything. But watching Red Bull struggle with this massive engine project, dragging down their chassis development, does it signal that the era of doing it all yourself is actually a trap?
It's a compelling argument. The resource drain of building an engine from scratch is astronomical, even with the separate budget caps. It distracts management. It splits the team's focus.
Right.
If Red Bull loses the 2026 championship because their engine isn't ready, while a team like McLaren or Mercedes wins with a stable package, it might just rewrite the playbook on how to structure a top F1 team.
So is it better to be a master of one trade or a jack of all trades and master of none? Red Bull is trying to be the master of all. Aston is trying to buy mastery. Mercedes is trying to maintain it.
And right now, the team that changed the least looks the strongest.
To finish first you must finish is the oldest cliche in the book. But after watching Day 4 in Barcelona, it feels like the only rule that matters.
Absolutely. A fast car that breaks is just an expensive paperweight.
Well, I, for one, cannot wait for Bahrain.
Yeah.
We're going to see if Red Bull can stop the bleeding or if the sharks are going to start circling.
We'll be watching the telemetry, the lap counts.
And specifically, whether the Aston Martin can stay on track for more than 5 minutes.
It's going to be a crucial few weeks.
Digest those nuggets, keep an eye on the tech forums, and we'll catch you on the next deep dive.
Stay curious.
See ya.